Dick, what's up?
What's up? Patreon.
What's up,
Patreon.
young people?
Ah. I've been singing that to myself a lot.
You really have been on a roll. I'm very impressed, jealous, and
Don't
amazed.
be just nobody should be jealous of me. It's
Why,
like
why not?
I I'm podcasting for like survival. Like I gotta pull myself out of a deep hole and then like I'm trying to do like I want to do the black comedian thing and like get successful enough that I like buy my mom a house.
Right, I have the same goals.
Yeah. And it's like first I have to get successful enough to like pay back the amount of like just like medical help I've gotten from
Your family.
family and various hospitals. So it's like first off, pay back like $400,000 in debt and then buy my mom a house
Mm-hmm.
so I can get out. I got to get out of the box car. Like I'm in the lobby of the Days Inn right now because they have their Wi-Fi set to a guest. And, just one day at a time. And then I guess after enough podcasts, I bought my mom my house like Steve Harvey.
I love that shit. I mean, when I was 12, I wrote my dad a 50th birthday card about buying him a house, and it's funny because he don't really need one.
Right.
There's just that energy of like wanting to provide for your family. I think is very pro-social and healthy, and not enough people have
Yeah, I guess it's like it's sort of I guess it's like if you grow up poor, then you work hard to get successful enough to like help your family, right?
it. Right.
But like if you grow up lower middle class or middle class, you kind of like are like just a burden on your family.
Yeah.
You have everything handed to you, and you're like not rich enough for your family to like endlessly support you, but you're still like a piece of shit.
You're not broke enough to get government assistance, and neither are they. I mean, the middle class is a difficult position. I mean, also because typically the middle class, at least my family, has a lot of like generational poverty trauma. Like my grandfather was a refugee, as was my grandmother, and my mom grew up in poverty in Alabama, where her parents like gave her whiskey as medicine. So,
It is medicine.
well, her grandparents did, her grandma. Oh, trust me,
Yeah.
I've taken a little whiskey. Yeah, I
But
know.
the best I think the best position to be like the best kind of person is maybe like Connor Roy
Who's that?
from Succession.
Oh,
He's like
I disagree, but yeah.
the billionaire fail son, but not like Kendall, who's like a fail son that's still trying. Like Connor just was like,
The
you know,
fails.
I'm a billionaire. I was born a billionaire, and I have no aspirations.
No, but I think
And
he
then
does, and it's embarrassing when he runs for office, and it's embarrassing the way he's clearly not really loved by his wife, and he doesn't really love her. I think his existential position is one I would never want, where he's trapped in his own nightmare and he doesn't even know he's having one, I think.
yeah, right. I mean, it would be nice to be like a billionaire.
Oh, of course, but you need to keep that Kendall energy or the Roman or Ronan energy. It's like
No, they all had the wrong idea because like they all wanted to like take over the company, but they didn't know what they were doing.
they're so moved by Shiv. They all follow Shiv's lead. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they're all just very swayed by what Shiv thinks is interesting. I think they all kind of understand that Shiv is the best businesswoman, but she's surrounded by these men who are incompetent due to their emotional issues. I mean, I feel like Shiv all the time. I'm like, yo, you guys stink.
This is a woman's perspective on Shiv because I've watched that show and I was like, Shiv's a fucking moron.
No, tell me more.
I just always thought like every step of the way, like anytime she would sort of get ahead, she would just like do something to expose like how she didn't really know what she was doing.
I mean, yeah, I
But
relate.
yeah, but I mean, they all kind of did that. Like every one of them, like didn't really know,
But I'll be
like
honest, it's like what's cool about Shiv is like her firing accuracy is almost always right until she's stressed out and doing something new, which I relate to. At which point she's basically a wild card who knows what she's going to do. And that's what makes her a good leader because it's like you can predict her movements until they are actually in the most for you as an enemy, hard to predict state, and then she comes in with a who knows what and somehow figures it out, like in the air, like rebuilds the airplane in the air, kind of, you know?
Yeah, she was daddy. She was trying to be like her dad.
Exactly.
That was her flaw. And then right there at the end, she finally figures out her fucking place, and it's
I
at Tom's side.
I know, it's crazy, and Tom figures it out too a little bit. That's a nice love story.
The complacent billionaires, the two people who don't really like each other, but
I like that
except
they come back around. I like that they have the breakup. Um,
yeah. I mean, it was like I thought it was funny how like that the show ended the way it did, and everybody had this like uh everybody's attitude seemed to be like Shiv got fucked over. This is like bad that this happened to a woman or whatever. And I'm like, she's still a billionaire. Nothing bad has happened to
what's she
any
gonna
of these
do?
people.
What's she gonna do? Go buy herself a vacation and cry into her wine and her delightful dinner served to her by slaves?
Yeah, the show was kind of this interesting social experiment where it's like at the end of the show, it's like, well, nothing bad has really happened to any of these people. Like at the end of the day, they're all still like billionaires. So it's like boo hoo, you don't get to run the fucking company, but it's like, all right, well, get in your armored car and go back to your penthouse or
Right, where
whatever.
people are waiting for you with an umbrella so you never have to feel rain or hold one yourself. I mean, that's what I think is the better like ontological or existential position regarding even coming from middle or upper middle or lower class families is developing a sense of ego from your work ethic and discipline and effort. And you can always look back and say, look, I took care of myself, you know?
I guess so.
That's
I
how
mean,
I
I have no work ethic. It's like my whole life, and this has been to my detriment, has been like doing everything I can to avoid actually having to like work an honest day's like labor.
well,
And
that's what
it's
rich
it's
people do.
yeah, and it's kind of bit me in the ass in a big way.
Mhm.
But I'm still like holding on to that like dream where it's like, well, just podcasting might be my like saving grace at this point, because it's like as much I love stand up, and that's my first love and my passion, I
Right.
suppose. But stand up is also like not particularly uh in vogue anymore, except that like
New York.
like everybody loves Shane Gillis, and like there's like these figures that everybody loves in terms of their like the stuff they create, like stand up podcasts or whatever. But like more people seem to be like in terms of like, I don't know, market value, just gravitate towards like podcasting and content stuff that's like you don't even like really work on. It's just
Yeah,
like the most
you don't leave the house, they don't leave the house. We're all alone together, listening to each other talk, right?
right. Yeah, it's like I think everybody this podcast boom happened, and it's like everybody got to develop these sort of like what do they call it, parasocial relationships, where it's like 2 hours a week you get to hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
And
I know. I sometimes resent the intimacy certain people have with me, but other times I really enjoy it. Like when people come to me like kindly and emotionally, but sometimes men, when they're that sexual with me or they hit on me that much or they like 1,000 of my photos every few days, I get the energy and I'm also exuberant. I do that to my good friends, but there's this level of intimacy I feel, even if I've had a great phone call with you, that doesn't mean that we're very close. I have other friends I do that with, and if I haven't known you for years, we're probably just acquaintances until I know I can trust you, because I've dealt with a lot of men who want to just suck up all my energy, suck up all my sex, suck up all the supply they can get from me, whether they're rich or broke or famous or not. And I just have no tolerance anymore for being sexualized by a stranger.
right, yeah, I'm not close with anybody. I'm the Daniel Plainview of podcasting, so every
Who is that
interaction.
again? Daniel.
Daniel Plainview is the protagonist. Well, technically the protagonist of There Will Be Blood, even though he's not a good guy.
Right.
But he's sort of like the sociopath archetype of like every interaction he has, like every relationship is like very transactional. Like he's always like looking for a way to like
Come up.
manipulate the people around him to further his own like business and ends. And so it's like him and like Tony Soprano and all these guys. So it's like that's who I am. Is like
Yeah. I think
you
more
think
of a Tony. You're a lot more of a Tony.
Yeah, I'm definitely well. Yeah, we're about the same size probably, but we breathe the same. Just like hunched over a sandwich, like. I mean that would be a good way to go out. Is like if I like ever have enough money to go on like a nice like vacation in Rome to like just drop dead on a hike in Italy, that'd be nice.
It would be
Uh,
a way to go. I hope I go
yeah,
doing something fun.
yeah, I want to go out like that or like that
Be
guy.
like going surrounded by loved ones who are mourning me. I think that's too much emotion for me as a woman or myself to handle. I can't do
Yeah,
that. I'd like to be doing something incredible. I'd like to get shot. I'd love to die hiking. I'd love to die fucking. I'd love to die dancing. I'd love to die, getting thrown off a yacht. I don't want to be like dying. Like, I do, please, actually, no. Lord, no yacht
oh,
throwing.
you want to get Natalie Holloway?
Who's that? Oh, no, I don't want to
She
be
was the
kidnapped.
that bitch that
No kidnapping.
Patrice had that bit about her at the time that he was like some Peruvian guy, Joran Vandersloot or whatever, like
Peru.
threw her off a boat.
Right.
And
No, I would rather throw him off a boat and then party all night and drink too much and die.
yeah, no, I'm gonna go out it'll be either like something fat related or like a killdozer situation.
Dildos.
Like
Oh, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Tim Dillon's like efforts to like eat healthy and work out?
I hope it works out for him. I mean,
Yeah,
he's got plenty of money to pull that off.
I know.
Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never understand it when like extremely wealthy
Visual.
celebrities just stay
Yeah,
fat. It's like you have all the resources to like
right.
you like really turn this around. Like
Right.
Jonah Hill did it recently, and now
I know,
he.
and he's happy. And like he made that really cool documentary about his therapist that was epic.
Oh,
Um,
really? I didn't really like it.
oh, I
Was
liked it. I'm a
yeah, but I don't like therapy. Like I think therapy is a scam.
I mean, it most of the time is past a certain point because they're never
Therapy is
going to
like
tell you to stop going. You know what I'm saying? They're never.
yeah, therapy is like a racket that was created by like people who weren't like smart enough or talented enough to become real doctors.
Or psychics, Christ.
Right. Like yeah,
I
they don't have the showmanship of a psychic and they're not smart enough to become real doctors. So they created this industry to like finagle,
Paperwork.
like $150 an hour out of like wealthy, mostly
Upper middle class working
like
white professionals.
yeah, like comedians and
Me.
people in tech, like yeah, like you.
Hmm.
And it's a racket and then like the culture of therapy has gotten to the point where like everybody says like like there's
You
no
got to get a therapist.
there's no substitute for talking to a professional, and it's like I've been to therapy and it's like I've never had a conversation in therapy that benefited me as much as just like talking to a friend of mine.
I know, same. And to be honest, it's more like I think what therapy provides is the value of the confessional, but they're not tied to the church and they don't know your family or community. It's like you go somewhere, you let it all go. They're a third party, not immediately related to you. But then obviously the
Wait,
church, what?
wait. What microphone are you? You sound like
Is
you're
it
underwater.
bad?
Yeah.
Talk.
I'm fixing it. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Good. So I was saying that the benefit of therapy is that it's like a confessional except for it's paid and they're not connected to the church and they don't know your community. And they don't use like hippie shit. They try to give you instruction. I think many of these people are well-meaning, but the business and industry they're in rarely, if ever, incentivizes them to let you go. They want you in therapy perpetually to pick at your wounds and analyze Freudian drama and question you about your choices and tell you you're insane. I actually had to terminate therapy this summer with a woman I'd worked with for 3 years because she tried to diagnose me with something I did not agree with, and then she wouldn't let me get back to work. So I had to find a psychiatrist willing to say I wasn't crazy.
Right. Yeah, well you're like a well-to-do white woman, so you're an easy mark for these people.
true. That's what I'm saying. And this hoe
Yeah.
suffered. She grew up with a lot more resources than I did from Manhattan. And I honestly respect her. I think she cares about me. I care about her. But she's younger than me, less experienced than me. She hasn't done all the things I do. She doesn't have my personality and she can't relate. I'm talking fast. You're listening slow, bitch. I'm talking fast because I need to tell you a lot quickly.
Right.
You are very expensive and we only have 45 minutes.
Yeah, and I live in a boxcar in the woods, so I just like I spend the time that my therapy is like when I'm working on my manifesto.
Yo,
You
I
know what I
read
mean?
this too. I mean, I've only written one or two, but they were pretty epic. I posted them to the internet and they kind of are true. Manifestation's real. You put it.
Yeah, I'm trying to do like I'm trying to figure out how to do like a killdozer. Like I want to get enough money. I want to like get good enough at like pull enough money together podcasting to do a killdozer.
What's that?
It was this guy, I forget his name. I forget like where exactly it was, but it was this guy who had some sort of like long-term zoning dispute with the city he lived in.
Huh.
And he eventually just got like fed up with like all this bureaucracy and hatched this plan that he had this like bulldozer that he for however long had like was like outfitting it with like armor and stuff, like turning it into like a Mad Max kind of vehicle. And then one day he just like drives it out and it's like completely, it's like a tank at this point, and just starts like destroying the town he lived in. And he wasn't like targeting people or like trying to hurt anybody. He was going to like different like just like either like government buildings or businesses he had some beef with, and just driving into them and like destroying these places. And I think of it like what ended up happening is he like drove it into like some hardware store and it like sunk into the floor.
Yeah.
And so like the police came and were trying to get him out, but this thing was like welded shut or something, and so they just couldn't extract him from the killdozer, and he died inside the killdozer.
Not a bad, not a bad way to start, like vigilante sacrificing his life. He's basically Jesus Christ, except for he didn't have to get pinned to a cross. It just happened in the course of his movements. I really
yeah. But he's in the, you know, he didn't actually like hurt anyone though. Like his crusade was a righteous one, but it was like
right.
Yeah, every now and then, and this will happen to me one day. Like these guys snap and do something that's like anti-establishment, but also like really fucked up.
Right.
You know, like remember Chris Dorner?
No.
He was that LAPD officer who, I guess had had worked in the force for a while and saw like how fucked up it was, and like I guess like got out or something, and then just went on this like killing spree throughout Los Angeles, like killing all these police officers. And so they finally gunned him down and found his manifesto. And the funniest part is like in his manifesto he lists like his top 10 favorite comedians. It was
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, like Ellen DeGeneres was like one of his favorite comedians.
Who? Ellen DeGeneres?
Yeah. And he was like, you know, like this big muscular black dude who just was like, the LAPD's fucking racist or whatever, and just like killed all these
remember
cops.
now. That was like a few years ago, right?
Yeah. Well, probably more than a few. It was
5, 6?
It's hard to like the timeline on like mass killings is fuzzy for me, because like it's hard to know like how recent any of them were.
Where does one of them end and the other begin, if you know what I mean? Like
my favorite, my favorite, I guess, or the one that's the most interesting is Stephen Paddock.
I don't know that one. Which
he
one
was that guy. He was that guy in Vegas years back during this like country music concert. Jason Aldean was actually performing when this happened.
God.
This guy Stephen Paddock somehow it was like on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel Casino, like busted out the window and somehow had like carried like a full armory of weapons up to this room. He had like several rifles and handguns. And just unloaded on this crowd. I think it was like the most deadly mass shooting in like American. It was like something like over 50 people that he killed, and and for for however long after that, it was a story where it's like, who is this guy? Where'd these guns come from? How to get up here? But then it just kind of went away, and there were like nothing was ever like kind of spoken about it again. And it's like this really interesting conspiracy because it is like, who the fuck was this guy? They never found like any like motive for why he did this.
Wow.
There was never any like explanation given as to how he got that many guns up there. Like they never, nothing was like they never published
Well,
like how.
he's probably an incel, right?
I don't know. There was like nothing was ever found out about the guy other than like
Most
he
of the
had
guys who do that are incels. Sadly,
yeah.
that's why I'm worried about men, and I think they need to get girlfriends and have sex. I'm in the Jordan Peterson camp of get in a relationship, invest in one woman, have sex regularly, clean your room, and don't kill everybody, okay?
Yeah, I'm more of like in the like Bukowski camp where it's like get no pussy until you're 40 and write a bunch of good books that like everybody loves, but also still hate women even once you start getting pussy.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, to each their own, we all are at our own rates of growth. We were discussing earlier tonight. It's fun the idea of describing men in girls' years or women's years. And you were saying
Yeah.
you feel 14.
Well, I kind of got knocked back to like like infanthood after my like mental break. Like I was in a have you seen the third have you watched Twin Peaks?
Mm-hmm.
Remember so you didn't see the third season?
No.
Okay, so at the end of you're about to get you're about to get autistic to here.
It's okay.
Yeah, but so it was actually kind of cool the way it all worked out because like the show got canceled at the end of the second season, but in that season, FBI special agent Dale Cooper gets trapped in the Black Lodge,
I
which
love
is
that
like,
actor.
oh, Kyle MacLachlan, he's the best. But he gets trapped in the Black Lodge, which is this sort of like otherworldly spirit purgatory hell place.
That's cool.
And when he's stuck in there, the like specter of Laura Palmer, the teenager who died, like gets killed at the beginning of the series, tells him like you're gonna be in here for 25 years.
Oh my
and,
God.
and then the show gets canceled.
Wow.
And there was a movie afterward, but it was a prequel to the show. But then 25 years after the show ended, we get season 3
Oh,
on Showtime.
oh.
And in that season, David Lynch does sort of a this funny thing where like
David Lynch was part of my breakthroughs in life, but continue.
yeah, he does this cool thing where like because everybody's stoked about the show coming back and like Dale Cooper is going to be on TV again, and so like Dale comes back, but while he was gone, there was this like doppelganger that was in his place. This guy who looked like him, but his name was Dougie Jones, and he was married to I forget the character's name, but Naomi Watts' character. So he had this family, and Dale comes back, and so Dougie Jones gets sent back to the Black Lodge and like vaporizes or whatever. And Dale is back, but he's like fucked up. Like he has no like faculties. He's just sort of like a blank slate. So like Naomi Watts comes in and she's like Dougie, Dougie Jones. And so like for most of that season, Dale Cooper's just in this like fugue state where he just is like walking around and just keeps saying that name over. He's like Dougie Jones. and he doesn't know like who he is or where he is or what's going on. And it's like most of the season he's like this. It was so funny because like every week on Twitter, everybody was like, when the fuck is Dale coming back? But that was me for a long time. I was just Dougie Jones. I was just like having to relearn how to like become a person again. And then like one day, I got the call where it was like, hey, it's time to podcast. And that was when I finally saw the one armed man, and he was like, you're awake again.
Yeah.
I am the FBI.
Yeah, you become the villain.
No, Dale Cooper comes back and he's like, immediately is just like, okay, I'm Dale again. It's time to do Dale shit.
Yeah, my Dale grind. Good for him. That's really neat. I like that guy because he's such a wholesome look. Doesn't he play the guy that in American Beauty the wife cheats on her? No, that's a different guy with huge eyebrows.
Yeah, I don't know.
Talking
You might
about
be thinking of Showgirls or
no.
Desperate
Oh,
Housewives.
that's what I was saying. He played Brie Vandekamp's husband in that show. I love that show. I'm like
Right.
a cross between Gabby and then Terry Hatcher's character.
I never watched it.
It's like girl next door illustrator who dates the plumber, and then it's like
Nah, that shit's for girls.
princess Hispanic who blows her top and will only have a rich husband and doesn't want to work. Yeah.
Right. No, that's for girls.
Love that show. You'd like it, man. It's pretty good.
Maybe somebody tried to like.
Have you ever seen Stepford Wives?
I saw the one with Matthew Broderick and Nicole Kidman.
Exactly that one. That is an incredible film.
Somebody tried to Lauren had done this. It was like some show where it was like a TV review, like a live TV review show or whatever, and she wanted me on it. And like I never watched it before, but we had to watch an episode of Sex in the City, and I like watched this. I never watched it. And I watched this episode, and I was like, "Yo, I hate every single one of these ladies."
No, they all suck so much. That is what the point is, I think, about them. I mean, you're supposed to like all of them, and then Carrie's the anti-hero, but like they all suck. I mean, the most likable one is probably Miranda, right? But even
yeah, it's also like ladies, you're like in your mid to late 30s. Wrap this up. Like wrap it up. Stop living like this.
No, I know. Carrie's like obsessed with this guy who's emotionally unavailable, and then the other one is a prude, and then the other one is a slut to like access to the embarrassing part. She's like, "What was I doing last night? Having sex, of course." Like, yeah. Charlotte is like, I can't have sex, and she's like dating a gay man, and then fucking like, what other one is there? Miranda's like, oh yeah, Carrie cheats on the one guy who's good to her, is obsessed with Big, and it reinforces this horrible sexist fantasy where you're finally selected by Big after waiting around forever. And like my fucking generation grew up with that shit being like aspirational, which is retarded. Sorry,
Yeah.
to say that word, but like that is so dumb. It's slow. Literally, it's the meaning of the word. So I don't like that show either.
I can't believe they brought it back, and it's popular enough that they're like renewing it because it's like, what is it now? They're like what? They're like whores in their 50s now. They're just like still doing this shit in their 50s. Like, yeah,
I have a feeling some of them are gonna have kids and they're gonna be settled down more. I mean, they're New Yorkers. I think I get what's going on with them. I don't think they may have been literally in their 30s, but they were playing women in their 20s in the early 2000s in New York City, which probably was the most fun time to be that age. But like, I hate Carrie's like navel gazing behavior, sitting down and writing her little poetry journal about her love life like it's fucking like, the evening news. Like their energy is annoying, but I think it's fun if once you reach the point of understanding those women are insufferable and not aspirational, then it becomes a bit like that show, that House of Cards show, where it's like all these people suck.
Right. I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like what I saw. I thought it was.
I think it's because I'm mired in these women's issues things, even in my personal life. Like
They're very shallow women. It's like make a show about a woman who falls in love with a guy who's like lives in a boxcar.
Right. That is a much more interesting show.
Works at the Days Inn podcasting.
That's what I'm saying. And I think that's a better movie. I do think so. I mean, one of my favorite films is like Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. My dog's running around like all hell broke loose. Come here, Delilah. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind is a good movie because he's down on his luck, he's depressed, and they meet in a train in Montauk, end of the world.
Oh.
and they both end up having she ends up having her brain erased to remove his memory.
I
And
haven't seen. It's been a long time. I
it's
remember the plot of it,
a
but
very
it's,
good movie. I mean, in one of the trailers, she's like, listen, like you're coming to me to like save you, but I'm not gonna save you. Like you're gonna one day find something out about me that you don't like, and will you love me then? That hits. I love that. I really love Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey in the movie. I mean, Jim Carrey's my favorite actor.
I like that other movie the director did where Jack Black does blackface.
What movie?
It came out. Actually, it came out. I think like the same year as Tropic Thunder. It's called Be Kind Rewind,
Oh, interesting.
and it's like him and Mos Def work at a video store with like
Sure.
videotapes,
I remember that.
and something happens where like some sort of like accident happens where one of them becomes magnetized and all the videotapes get erased. So the
Mm.
whole plot of the movie is they start recreating every movie on their own, like low budget recreations of all these like classic movies. And it's I think like at some point they try to make their own movie, and Jack Black does blackface.
Yeah, but alongside Mos Def, so it was probably everybody got on board with it.
Yeah, but speaking of Colin McLaughlin, you had asked me earlier for like a movie recommendation.
Recommendation, yeah.
Have you seen Dune?
No.
1984 Dune, directed by one of David Lynch's like only like big studio movies.
Oh, interesting.
It's a cool little relic of
Did you read one of David Lynch's books? It's called How to Catch the Big Fish, again, into my like fishing interests.
No, I haven't read that.
It's a really good book. I'm gonna try to pull up some of the stuff on there. It's like a big poem essay, catching the big fish, meditation, consciousness, and creativity. Yeah, he talks about meditation as a cornerstone. Oh yeah, ideas are like fish. If you want to catch the little fish, you can stay in shallow water, but if you want to catch the big fish, you have to go deeper. Down deep, the fish are more powerful and more pure. They're huge and abstract, and they're beautiful. I look for a certain kind of fish that is important to me, one that can translate to cinema, but there are all kinds of fish swimming down there. There are fish for business, fish for sports, and there are fish for everything. Everything, anything that's a thing comes to the deepest level. Modern physics calls it the unified field. The more your consciousness, your awareness is expanded, the deeper you go to the source, the bigger fish you can catch. Epic.
That's cool.
Epic.
Yeah, you should watch the 84 Dune. Watch both of them. Watch that Dune first to get it.
824.
No, it was made in 1984.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, there's that Dune by David Lynch, which is like not the movie that it could have been because there was like too much studio interference, but it's still it's a fun movie. It's crazy.
Do you like
And
the
the new Dune is like more faithful to the book, and yeah, it's awesome. But the David Lynch Dune's got that charm, you know.
You know what I really love? Did you ever read Ray Bradbury or The Martian Chronicles?
When I was in like
Fifth
seventh
grade,
grade, yeah, like seventh grade, I think. Yeah.
I love short stories, and I love Ray Bradbury. I mean, those were really good because they were like creative thought experiments, science fiction, and like Norman Rockwell, like views into America, and I guess the 50s or 60s or whenever he was writing that. That stuff inspired me a lot. I think a lot of the content I want to make is going to be like kind of oriented in the way Ray Bradbury wrote about things, this blending of reality and the surreal. I love it.
Yeah. Did you ever read like any like Harlan Ellison?
No.
You should check. He did a lot of short stories. You should check out the short story and the movie are both really good. A Boy and His Dog. It's like post-apocalyptic, and it's like this teenage boy, and he has this dog, and they have like this telepathic link, so they can talk to each other. And they're like wandering the wasteland, trying to like fend off like different savages or whatever.
I literally think I have telepathic links with my cat and dog.
No, that's just BPD. But
Yeah, that's funny.
But
Tell
yeah,
that to them, okay? I'd like to see you telepathy with them.
yeah. I mean, if you had talked to me like anytime between September of 2021 and February of 2022, I would have told you I had a telepathic link with fucking everybody.
Yeah, Barack Obama. Yeah, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and I have a meeting every day at 10 a.m. in our mind.
Yeah. But it's a cool movie because like, the whole plot of the movie is he's like wandering the wasteland, and eventually he gets like all the like elite people prior to the apocalypse like were able to like go underground. So it's like all these like fucked up like incestuous rich people that have their like faces painted like almost like
That's cool.
kabuki, and they find this boy and they want to harvest his like semen to re
Yeah, it's
like
like Bohemian Grove.
yeah. So they want this boy to come down there and like fuck all their daughters to like
Yeah,
repopulate the earth.
scary. Wait. So, what's your take on Alex Jones? Actually, I haven't. Surprised.
I love him. I love
Me
him.
too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, he's fishing with dynamite, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, uh, you throw enough shit at the wall, you're gonna land on the truth every now and then. And sometimes you hit a Sandy Hook conspiracy that fucking ruins your life and the lives of many families.
Well, I heard that people were kind of framing him. They were kind of purposefully feeding him a lot of information that was false and seemed true that they knew he'd latch onto in order to bring him down.
Well, in his defense, like to his credit, in his defense, like knowing, just having watched him over the years and like and heard him talk and stuff like that, like I don't think he was acting out of any sort of maliciousness. I think he like truly believed in the stuff he was like saying. It's just that he was wrong, and it kind of like fucked up the lives of like some of these families, and then inevitably like fucked up his life.
Yeah. Well, it goes around, comes around. I mean, I think it probably helped him get a little more grounded. Like, I've heard him in appearances since then on like 2 shows, and he seems a lot more back to earth.
Yeah, I mean,
As
you
back
go
to earth
through.
as a guy like that can go,
That's me now. Is it's like I'm at fucking rock bottom, and it's like, yeah, I guess I'm never doing acid again. So
Oh, don't, yeah. If your
I
life
mean,
is already a trip and you're already kind of like that sensitive, like it's not worth tampering with your stability.
no, it fucking like it just sent me into a fucking coma. Like I was like catatonic for just like months. After everything that happened, like it cost me like everything. But
Yeah.
acid is awesome. It is nice.
Oh, was it you took acid around the time this happened to you?
That was what kind of what caused it all. Was like I was on an SSRI, and then
You also
also
had
like
a lot of shit you were dealing with in your personal life. Well, why would you be surprised? Listen, I don't think you're mentally ill. You were dealing with a lot. You had
yeah, well, like
you've been driven ill by your life circumstances, and then you added a drug on top that's not going to help.
yeah, and what I found out, or maybe I already knew, I don't know, but there's like a pretty substantial streak of like schizophrenia in my family. So like throwing mushrooms and acid and weed and all that on top of it is like,
I'll be honest with you, like what people call schizophrenic and people call religious, it's funny the lines they'll draw. Like you can speak in tongues and you can be a Scientologist and you're completely rational. And you can think casting out demons is real. And you can think exorcisms are real and you're just a good religious person. But then you end up going through a trauma in your personal life and take a drug and have a break and suddenly you're in psychosis. I'm sorry, but like things drive people mad. And
well, you do, but the it's funny you mentioned that, because that's like one of the big like commonalities with going through that is this sort of like religious fixation. Because
right.
I talked to a couple other people who had gone through the same thing, and both of them had told me they had, during it, had developed this like hyper fixation on like religion and like religious symbology and God and like
Right.
the Bible or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I talked to our mutual friend. I won't say his name, but he was telling me that the first time he went through that, he spent like weeks trying to like mathematically prove that God exists.
Right.
and then I talked to another person, another successful comedian whose girlfriend went through that, and he like was showing me like just these paragraphs of text that she had sent, all like Bible verses and talking about God and shit.
Yeah.
And that I went through like something similar. Where it was like I was like obsessively like reading the Bible and then texting like everyone I knew like all this like religious shit and like the symbology. It's like if you look around, like the Father, Son, Holy Ghost is like you can see it, like see that pattern everywhere. And there's like Jesus and the 12 apostles. It's like, okay, so it's like there's 12. And like, and there's also always some like mathematical component, even though like I don't know math. So I'm like doing some sort of like
the number 12, the number 11, the number 3.
Yeah, I'm trying to do like some sort of like calculus, but I like, I gotta, I mean, I did pass calculus 1 in college, but Cal 2 was where I had to like, okay, it's time to switch majors because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. They won't let you use a calculator. You get to Cal 2 and they
I'll
tell
be honest,
you.
I think both like theism and atheism are very problematic perspectives to go too deep into in terms of mysticism. I definitely have tried to pick a religion in the last year or two, and I keep feeling torn between Judaism, Rastafarianism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, and then I'm like, well, there's something to gain from all of them. I guess I'm spiritual, not quite religious, and I think that's healthy because I'm able to kind of reap the benefits of all of these things and take
You really are like just a wealthy white woman. That's such a
okay, I operate like a Christian though.
That's such a like a Pinot Grigio ass thing to say.
Hey, listen, I'm drinking a mango Rita.
Okay. I like
out of a Pisces cup. It's a Pisces glass.
Yeah, women like astrology.
Yeah, I'm basically an astrologist.
I'm more into like whatever's on the like the mat at the Chinese restaurant.
You like the Chinese zodiac?
Yeah, when you go to a Chinese restaurant, you get to look at the
fortune cookie.
No. I don't know how many restaurants do it. Like a lot of Chinese restaurants will have like on the table, like they'll have like the placemat or whatever will have like all the Chinese zodiac on it.
Southern Chinese buffets are better. I never attend them in the north. That sounds cool though.
There's not many in New York. There's the only one I ever found was like in Ridgewood. Yeah. Was like an actual buffet, but everything else is either like dine-in, per entree or takeout.
Getting it out. Yeah, no, they also like don't have hibachi in New York City, which blew me away. No hibachi.
They got KBBQ.
What's that?
Korean barbecue. There's a place over on, you can check this out. I think it's in K-Town or like that area. It's like 33rd Street.
Right near there.
Yeah, it's a place because like all those places around that area are like really expensive. Like you go in there and I get like the idea is like for the table, so it's like $150 for like all this meat or whatever. But then there's like a place like in that same area called Let's Meat, MEAT.
Yeah,
and it's like $40 all you can eat, and that's nice.
Wow,
that's a good spot.
That sounds good. There's another joint I like for chicken in that area called like Chicken Jazz Records Chicken Jazz. Like it's like
oh the Korean, like those Korean fried chicken spots.
It was actually Southern. It's really good. They have like jazz records, fried chicken, and like just good times.
Have you been to that boba place? It's always got like a line, it's got like a fucking line down the block.
But boba is nasty to me. I don't like boba.
Yeah, but there's a place. They have this cool gimmick where it's like they always have a big line, and you go in there and you order, and then the drink is served through like a big like tiger's mouth or something like that, and it's served in like a cup that looks like a dragon's egg, like a Game of Thrones dragon egg. And there's always like this big line to get in there. And it's in like that. It's in that area, like K-Town or whatever. I mean, K-Town's only like what, like one block, really.
Oh yeah, no, K-Town's like a grid of like 2 blocks in Midtown. And
Yeah, because it's like there's K Town, and then like ironically enough, like 1 or 2 blocks over is the Compound Media Studios.
what's that?
The Anthony Cumia studio.
I don't know about it.
You know Cumia?
Mm-mm. I don't know enough.
Oh,
Someone who's in this industry, I really know nothing.
Opie and Anthony was just it was like
Oh,
it was a legendary radio show where like a lot of
yeah,
the big
I know
big
that.
yeah, like all the big comedians that like got all the open micers like me or whoever listened to and was like, oh, I get I'm gonna be the next Patrice because I listened to this radio show, and so everybody goes to New York thinking that New York's gonna be like whatever
What we'll say.
whatever you heard on O&A, and then you get there and you realize it's like, oh, this is actually like the gayest place on earth. But
I know, I love it. I
yeah,
love the way I say New York is like the worst thing you can do is waste someone's time, and everyone's a hustler. It's just are they good or bad?
right, yeah, and but Anthony Cumia was the Anthony of Opie and Anthony, and like he was always kind of like racist, and then when the show went to Sirius XM, and there was some like he was out like doing like taking photos or something one night, and some like black lady screamed at him and I guess hit him or something.
Yeah.
So he went on Twitter and said something like racist about this incident.
Wow.
Like he was one of the first like victims of the culture war. He was one of the first guys to get canceled because like that he was on Twitter saying that shit. All the stuff he had already said on the radio, just on Twitter now, and so Sirius saw that and fired him, and he has spent like the last like decade uh on Twitter and on he started his own company called Compound Media, which is in that area.
That's
Like
what I'm saying though, dude. This shit remind me of Succession in the sense that the guy got quote canceled. He started a media company, or he had a great career.
right, yeah, he's
And
fine, but he's made every effort to like justify their decision of firing him. Like his Twitter, he's got one of my favorite Twitter accounts because it's just unhinged racism.
oh
Like
no.
like he doesn't say the N word, but he's like, look, he'll post. It'll be like a clip of like a black lady on an airplane causing like some
Causing
scene,
a ruckus.
and he'll be like, why are they letting the ends fly?
Oh, it's crazy. That's insane. I mean,
I met him a few years ago when we were still doing that podcast, The Loud Boys,
yeah.
and he had just done Legion of the Skanks, and I went up to him after the show, and he's like a big time drunk, and I just like fucked with him, and I was like, hey Anthony, hey, I just want to say thanks again for doing the show, and he was like, what show? And I go, my show, The Loud Boys, and he goes, oh yeah, The Loud Boys, yeah, thanks again for having me. He had never been on the show. I had never met him before
That's
that.
funny, Dalton.
So I got a picture with him, and I was like created this whole mythology that there was like this lost episode of our show.
The lost episode.
Yeah, that like got taken down because I think I said like on the show we had watched old like blackface Looney Tunes clips, and so we got a DMCA complaint from Warner Brothers because of it.
It's crazy, Dalton. That's really funny. But I love this shit. That is I love the ending of that story. I mean, I think the good thing about Twitter is these people who do, I just have like either racist or sexist views, and they can still continue living and thriving. Like at least you know their values, and if you don't fuck with it, you don't have to listen to them. At least know. Like they were never hiding it. It was just never aired. Well, it was aired, but nobody cared.
He was banned from Twitter until Elon bought it, and then his account got reinstated, and he was off to the races with the. It's just every day. It's like 20 different tweets of like videos of black people doing black like stuff, and then him being like, "Look at these fucking animals."
Yo, that guy got issues. He's probably attracted to black women and he hates himself or something.
No, he's attracted to teenagers.
Oh God, even worse. Yeah.
His girlfriends are always like he's like in his 50s or 60s at this point. His girlfriends are always like 19. He's a real ass dude.
He's got mommy issues then. Let's take back even further. I wonder that thing about it. I think to each their own. I don't really care about age gap relationships. I just like you notice a theme when someone never dates a woman who's older than 22 or 19, like the Leo criticism. I always felt like a lot of that narrative was just embarrassing for women. Like, stop getting so bitter that he likes young women with beautiful bodies and faces. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
like
it's like everybody always bitches about like DiCaprio, and it's like, what's the fucking point of becoming a movie star if
yeah,
you
I
can't
mean,
date?
some people are bachelors, right? Like, nobody ever hates on James Bond. Like, Leo's like a mom.
Yeah, but it's like if I'm the most famous, like attractive movie star in the world, it's like you think I'm gonna fucking date a woman in her 30s? You're out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah, exactly. We old. But yeah, I don't know. To each their own. You know, I'd even younger and older than me, and taller and shorter. I don't care. Poorer and
You
richer.
know, I do love this sort of like the thing you see online now, and it's I guess mainly among like I don't know hotep types or I don't know. The discourse I see a lot online is like that lady, that Pearl Davis lady.
Oh no.
She's like the most glaring example of this. Of like she's constantly tweeting about how like a woman only has any real value between the ages of like 16 and 25, and then after that it's fucking done. She hits the wall, it's fucking over. But
I
you
don't
see
know.
those conversations, like that discourse is constantly on Twitter where it's like
Yeah.
these sort of hotep guys where it's like, fellas, would you date a woman who's in her 30s? And then it's like 100 comments being like, hell no. Nah, what like she can't have no kids no more because
You'll
whatever
not
the whatever the argument is, or it's like or like that thing where it's the thing where it's like if you're a guy who's single after 30, it's like your only option then is like single moms, and it's like, would you date a single mom or whatever?
yeah.
It's like,
No.
yeah, and there's all these like different to kind of be a little kumia here. It is mainly black guys who are like, shit,
I
nah.
know. That is interesting, right? It's like, well,
My thing is, I'm not the stepdad. I'm the dad who stepped up.
oh my God, my step siblings gave my dad like a little like like fucking like DJ Maxx type like framed photo that says that.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
That'll be me. I'll find me a nice like corn-fed single mom.
Your mom. Oh, there's some of the best women, honestly. Like, you got dumped by another guy, and here they are ready for you to help them. I mean, my dad was like really sweet about it. He was like, I'm an environmentalist. I saw a woman, I saw children, I wanted a bigger family. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm like, here you go, kid. Here's a Super Nintendo. Scram.
Right.
I'm gonna have sex with your mom now. Go play the Super Nintendo while I have sex with your mom.
I love that. That's really good. I mean, I think a lot of people like me because I have single mom vibes, but thank God I ain't got kids right now. The kids would be so messed up by me and all my behaviors over the last 10 years.
No, yeah, that's the thing now, is to be a childless woman.
Barren.
Yeah, but or yeah, barren.
Yeah, my mother had me at 37 though, and I'm gonna stay young forever. Halle Berry had kids late 30s, early 40s. Fuck it.
Yeah, they're
People say
starting
I'm
to they're
25
starting
all
to
the
say
time.
now that that's not what, like there was that whole thing about like geriatric pregnancies.
Literally, I would probably be considered a geriatric pregnant.
Yeah, but isn't it like coming out now that that's kind of like not true? Like a woman can like healthily have a baby like into her 40s at least.
Yeah, well, how do you think some of these women ended up having 10, 15 kids?
Yeah, like my grandmother, she like married her. She was born in 23, and she married her first husband whenever, and had like a whole like a litter,
Batch, a litter.
a batch, a litter of like my aunts and uncles. So she had like those four kids, and then got divorced, and then like met another guy who was my granddad, and then had my dad and his twin sister when she was in her like 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like that's why like my dad is like, I think like technically Gen X maybe, or like at the very
Oh,
tail
really
end of
young.
boom. Yeah, he was born in like what, 64, which I guess is like
He's 10
maybe
years
the
younger than my mom. Yeah.
like the tail end of Boomer or like the beginning of Gen X, but like all of his brothers and sisters, my aunts and uncles, they're all boomers. They're all like in their like 70s and then like
Interesting.
yeah.
No, I was actually doing some research into this a couple times because, when I was younger in my 20s, I was worried about turning 30 because I thought I'd die. And then people now think I'm like 5, 7 years younger than I am, which is really flattering. But I noticed about these women in their 30s who seem young in New York City. Well, here's the one thing: they are happy. They exercise in a way they enjoy and they eat well. They still party, but they like don't die emotionally, and I think most liberal women in New York City kind of die.
Yeah,
They're
it's a
walking
weird
down.
city. I mean, it's a city that drove me crazy, and now I have to
Oh, but
recover.
modern feminism doesn't help anyone. It tells women that like this Pearl stuff, what's her name again?
H. Pearl Davis
H.
or whatever.
Pearl Davis.
She's like a trad, like
But
very
that's what I'm
conservative.
saying. Like, the thing is, like, you don't have to be trad to be happy. You don't get hitched to a Republican man or start an OnlyFans. You just have to like brainwash yourself from like liberal modern feminism that tells you reinforces negative patriarchal beliefs that you're only useful between 16 and 25. That's never been the case. If you look at women
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, it's like every time I see Chelsea Handler talking about like I'm old as fuck and I don't have kids or whatever, and she's like, and I'm happy. I'm always like, I don't think you believe that.
yeah, if you really were happy, you wouldn't have to talk about it so much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Oh, I do. Oh, this. Okay. Okay. I remember what I was going to tell you earlier. What
tell me. And
the
then I gotta
reason
wrap this up. I'm getting tired.
the reason you wanted to
Pod.
start this podcast was
Yeah, full circle.
this was something I talked about with Robbie on my show Cornfed with Dalton Pruitt, Patreon, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Patreon. Um, was like this sort of like attention economy we live in, like the whole thing with content now, where it's like the people nowadays like making the most money in the world seem to be the people who don't do anything necessarily.
Right.
And like the thing because I've been like trying to figure out the con myself. Like I'm in that sort of position in life where it's like, well, I haven't achieved anything. I'm at rock bottom, back's against the wall. It's too late for me to like learn Python or whatever. I try and I'm like, no, I'm too stupid for this. So it's like, what's the like workaround? What's the con that I can do to fix all this? And it's like, so it's like if you go to school like you did to like learn coding and stuff and get good at that, and like let's say you become like a video game developer, so like in those jobs, like there's all these stories that come out all the time how the people in those jobs are kind of like overworked and they're not really paid
Right.
like what their value is,
Right.
and they work like tons and tons of hours, never see their families, and they get hit with those like crunches to make these games, and then the game comes out, like whatever it is, like what's a game that just came out, I don't know, Starfield is the one everyone's talking about, like this big space exploration game. It's whatever it is, a
Yeah.
video game, big video
Uh-huh.
game comes out. And so you got all these developers that worked on it, right? And they make like probably like six figures a year, I would imagine. But then you have like these YouTube guys like Dr. Disrespect or Markiplier or XQC, PewDiePie. Do you
Mhm.
know who I'm talking about? Like any of these guys? So like all they do is just like point a camera at themselves while they play the video game. Like I don't know if they know anything about coding or how to like make a video game, like how to create it, but they just sit there and play it and like react to things that are happening as they play it. And it's like if you look up any of these guys' net worth, it's like tens of millions of dollars. And they didn't work on the game. They just played the fucking game. And it's like that like in every field. It's like you have the people that like work their asses off to get into some field and do the actual work, and they don't make any money. And then you just have the people that kind of talk about it and make more money than that, and they don't even work.
That's why the biggest apps are platform apps, because content is king. If you can make platforms that support content creation, game over.
Yeah, like all these like economic podcasters. Like what's that one? The guys in suits. I think one of them's Indian. Peace. I don't know. Do what?
Jay Shetty or
I don't know. One of these economics things, but it was like these three guys on a big podcast, like that were bitching about that recent like union deal that UPS struck, where it's like some of their like top drivers are about to start making like 170K a year driving for UPS. And yeah, it's a good thing. But then these guys on this podcast were like, what? Like they couldn't believe that this was happening. And it's like, you got like, what do you guys work what, 2 hours a week doing this podcast? So it's like the way, you know, the game, obviously the game is rigged,
right.
but it's rigged in a way where it's like, if you could just like figure out like some sort of con, like some way to like grab people's attention, like if you have enough of a personality to grab people's attention, you can just like make more, like that the Richmond, north of Richmond guy.
I love that guy.
Yeah, like I don't know what his story is. Like I don't know how
He
genuine
rejected a bunch of money apparently.
All part of the grift. Makes him
I
look
think
good.
so too. I know.
It's all part of it.
I know.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know if he was actually working.
Like a Dave Chappelle move.
Yeah, I don't know, like whatever job he was doing, maybe he was actually working a fucking like coal mine union, whatever job. But at some point he said, yo, fuck this, and set up a camera and played this little ditty of his, and now he's a millionaire. You know, and it's like, it's not even that good of a song. It's like, if you know anything about country music, there's guys like Jason Isbell, Tyler Childers, Sturgill Simpson, Amanda Shires, Margot Price. They've been singing much better songs in that same vein for years, and then they're doing fine in their careers. But it's like this guy in particular, like did what I'm doing, where it's like he sat around and said, all right, what's the con? Because I'm fucking tired of having to do this job. And then he figured it out.
I've been working on it too. I mean, I launched in a brand with my friend. I would call it a con, but I also think it's like a product people love. Like we launched like a sex shop, kind of a sex toy lingerie type store.
Yeah,
it's not making money yet, but it's like that's the thing people like to buy. Why not? Is it a con? Yeah, it's true. Like people like sex and people like social connection. Is it such a sad thing? Well, the sad thing is that people don't develop it in their personal life. They don't have sex in reality. They don't have friends in reality, but people need that.
Right. I think any sort of I guess like entertainment, especially stand up in podcasting, is definitely a con job.
Yeah,
I think the biggest motivator for anybody that gets into comedy, maybe more like not as much as like music or anything like that, but especially comedy, the biggest motivator is just like, I don't want to work a real job. I don't even fucking care about like being an artist or whatever. It's just like, I don't want to have to like go into an office and do some bullshit for no money. So it's like, I'd rather just like do this dumb thing to like convince people to give me all their money. And it's like, oh no, what you do is so important. You bring joy to people's lives. And it's like, no, don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
I just don't want to work. I want you to give me money so I can have fun for a living.
Right. No,
I'm doing a grift, because any other job, this is like the things I'm saying are like unacceptable. And it's like, and I don't get paid as much, but it's like, if I position myself in a way where it's like, oh, I'm a fucking, I'm an artist, but it's like that, at the end of the day, like none of it's respectable. Like being an entertainer is a completely irresponsible decision, and it should be met with contempt. It's like to live the life of a gypsy or a carny, but be celebrated.
I cannot agree more. Literally. Damn.
subscribe to my Patreon. That's
Subscribe to my Patreon. Subscribe to Dalton's Patreon. Dalton is making more money than me, but he deserves it and it's okay. He had a prior.
oh, I'm making more money than you on Patreon. and trust me,
That's true. He and I have been doing different grifts for the last several years. I've been a female engineer, aka I'm not as good as a man, but
right,
with pussy, I get jobs.
right.
Dalton is a hardworking man who deserves a gazillion dollars. He's
Yeah, I'm hard working.
a billionaire podcaster.
I'm the first billionaire podcast, the Daniel Plainview of podcasting.
And I look forward to the trickle-down effect from Dalton's great success. So subscribe to Dalton, subscribe to me.
Yes.
I'm gonna end this